Hello, Goshi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
Good, good. Busy morning. Yourself?
Oh, bad.
Nice. Here, Mark.
Yeah, I'm actually joining us
Hello.
early.
Hello, good morning.
Morning, morning.
Good morning.
Okay, it's
Happy New Year.
Mark's wife, actually, I think.
Yeah, Matt's wife.
Got it, got
So
it.
are you also on the supply chain train?
Yes, I want to do I've even registered for it, the supply chain procurement certificate. So I just want to hear more information and the classes that you will also be holding as well to support those of us on the journey.
All right.
I've,
So but
I've
are you practicing
registered.
currently?
When you say practicing, oh yeah, I'm in purchasing. Yes, where
Oh,
I
okay.
currently work. Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So that's what I do.
Nice to have
I've
you
been,
here.
thank you.
All right, so it's gonna be starting soon. Thanks for joining early, though. I'm not sure this is your first time joining us on these sessions.
Well, we arrived Canada in 2023. I think I joined one when we
Okay.
just came in. Yes, I think that was about the time Mark connected with you. Yes.
Uh, cool. So good to know everything is going well, right?
Yeah. So far, so good. I don't want
Nice.
to. I don't want to. I don't want to ginger myself because this certificate I registered since last year. I've just not.
At the
I don't know
time,
if
eh?
it's the confidence. I don't know if it's the time. Maybe it's the
Oh, really?
confidence too. So I guess that's why I really want to.
Is it the
I
certificate?
the certificate here.
All right.
Ah.
Mm. Yeah, we'll cover those. I think we provided these sessions as a study group, right? Just to make
Yeah,
sure that, it's something we're able to complete on time because I've seen a lot of cases where people enroll, but life happens, right? Like they just engage
yeah,
with other activities, and before you know it, the whole time they had to complete it is just gone.
true.
And sometimes when you do that with the certificate, you might think, okay, well, it's not a lot of money, but it happens with the certifications as well.
Yeah. I mean, I've paid, I've done everything, but just to get myself to do it, I don't know. It's just,
Yeah. But do you realize that you actually could attempt the exam as many times as possible?
okay, but won't I pay for it again?
No.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. So once I pay for it, if I attempt the exam once and I don't pass it, I can do it again without making any payment.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
If you knew that, if you knew that, you would have
Yeah,
done it already, right?
probably I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
but knowing me, if I had a choice, I mean, I just want to do it once and just get it over and done with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just that one time.
Yeah. At least once you're done here, it's something you can just
Yeah,
take care of.
sure.
Adela is here. Okay, we can't hear you though. Maybe you don't have your mic on yet.
Morning, everyone. I'm still muted.
Good, good morning. Is it really cold out there? You you sound you sound like you're you're not feeling the cold.
No, it's I don't know.
You have you
It's
have
not so cold
cold?
outside. It's -5. That's
Yeah,
not
that's not
terribly
bad.
good.
That's Toronto,
No,
right?
not at all. Yeah, yeah,
Not bad.
it's fine.
All right. We're still here waiting. So we had asked people to join earlier, but yeah, as the case will be sometimes people don't join till late. So, but is there anything aside from okay, we know the sound check is fine. Is there any other thing that you might want to quickly check?
Adira, did you see Toronto?
Sorry, Gauthier,
Yeah,
what did you say?
Did you say Toronto?
I am joining from Toronto, yes.
My goodness. From Vancouver to Toronto, this is coast to coast. Truly Canadian.
Well, that's the half, that's not even the half of it, but
Oh boy.
another
Okay, we might
another
need to jump on
story,
a phone call right after this.
another story for another day.
Wow. At least I hope it's bringing some reward and some achievement and meet your expectation and your goals.
Well, I don't currently live here. Just holiday, but I also
Ooh,
don't
even
live in
better.
Vancouver anymore. Yeah, so
Even better.
yeah. Okay, let's hope people join.
Gautier, you have the procurement stuff good to go, right?
In my head, yes.
Okay. Go ahead. All right. Yeah,
That
we
should be
work with
good.
what you got.
Yeah. I didn't prepare a slide. It's like 15 minutes, but I'll do it interactive and we'll go
All
through.
right, that's cool. I mean, it's usually fun when you don't have to look at any script, right?
No, we're good.
How are you? Lucky. Please join us. Good to have you here.
Yeah. How are you, Monsieur Gauthier?
Très bien, Deutscher.
Monsieur
Deutscher.
Gauthier.
Bonne année, bonne année.
Bonne année, bonne année.
Voilà. Diman,
Yeah,
Diman knows very good song.
yeah, that is I remember my dad used to listen to that song, so it brings back some memories.
Uh,
Yeah. How is
yeah.
life on your end?
No, it's good. It's starting smoothly this year, so let's wait and see.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, we've started the countdown already, guys. So when we're in January, it's like for me, uh, it's almost gone.
So day
I,
3 and January is gone.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
You are really advanced, man.
yeah. When you get busy before you know it, that time just passed by so fast.
um,
So I'm sure you guys have met each other before. Lucky, have you met Adela?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. So Adela is one of our strong members, and he's also taking on a big role in the supply chain industry network. We haven't said anything yet in the group, but yeah, where those who are insiders know we're doing some restructuring and trying to have some structure behind what we're doing. But that will be a story for another day. For now, we just need to focus on the ASCM. Uh, anyways, we can start just because of time. We want to respect everybody's time. The session here really is the ASCM certificate info session, where we would like to provide some information on how we support professionals, newcomers, and perhaps those who haven't even done anything in supply chain before. This will be an opportunity for them to tap into the experience of our facilitators to get an idea of what really it looks like hands-on to practice supply chain and procurement. So today we're going to be covering the ASCM modules. We're going to look at the LMS. So at an overview level, just so that you can have an idea as to what is really involved. Then we'll look into, okay, in what areas does serial project services provide support with the help of the instructors? And what are the benefits of actually joining the study groups? And then what is the structure of delivery process? I will cover some of those aspects where we would leave the technical aspects to our facilitators. We'll be starting with Gautier, looking at procurement certificate. Next will be Lucky, we'll be covering supply chain planning. And next we would have Adela. We'll talk about the supplier relationship management certificate. And I will cover the supply chain technology certificate aspects. Bear with us, this is the first session of the year. So there's a bit of a lag even on my own side, but we just had to make it happen regardless. I'm sure it's going to be fun for everybody that's joining us. I know some will be joining in later. Maybe I will actually drop a link in the group. By the way, if you don't know about the Supply Chain Industry Network, we're a group of foreign trained supply chain professionals. We're providing support, mentoring, and all other type of resources to help. One of these resources is what we're having here today. Some information about professional development, how you can quickly transition to your desired role, the roles that you practice, why they brought you to Canada. I'm sure you know the story where you get stuck somewhere you're not really you know, using all those experiences. So we want to help to fast track that with the help of the ASCM certificate. And that's why we're here today to provide this info session. So without much ado, I will hand it over to Gautier. I will be in the back end for the most part. So looking in the chats, I'll be dropping some stuff, that we can use to engage while Gautier is going over his own materials. Over to you, Gautier. Please do introduce yourself first before your session. I forgot to mention that.
Well, you know me already. Why do you want me to introduce myself again? Ah, brother.
Oh, I don't know you. Nobody knows you here.
No, thank you. First of all, Happy New Year. I will say happiest New Year 2026 to everyone on the call. It's a blessings. I think we didn't deserve to be here today. That's a gift from the nature. My name is Gautier Jukam, and for people who joined earlier, they hear me with Lucky speaking in another language that people call French. So that's my background, essentially. So if you talk like a French accent, that's why. My background in supply chain, so I started in project management actually in my career, but then pivoted by accidents in procurement.
Your sound.
Gautier, your
Please,
sound.
Gucci, go closer. Go closer to your speaker.
I
Closer?
think your sound
Yes.
was mobbled
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, it's good. Perfect.
Okay, and I will probably slow down a little bit. Seems like even the network hasn't catch up with 2026 yet. I started my career in project management and then shifted very quickly into procurement. And for like 3, 4 years, came to Canada and I embraced warehousing and distribution, where I went back and learned about inventory auditing, distribution planning, and operations management, and went back recently into procurement lead, and most recently global supply chain support lead. So along the way, I was able to also enhance my skills with an ASCMP, with Supply Chain Canada, a PMP from PMI, and a Green Belt in Six Sigma. So I've been instructing here and there with SAIT College, with SAIL Project, and various subjects, including procurement certificate training. So yeah, so my experience goes across public services, retail, non-for-profit, and oil and gas as well. So I think that's it. If there's anything that I haven't covered yet on my introduction, please feel free to stop me and or ask a question. So I have 15 minutes, maybe now 14 minutes and 30 seconds. So what I will do, I will kind of like give you like a broad overview of what we are planning to cover on the procurement certificate um, student group cohort. So first of all, procurement and purchasing. I think early on, I'll say Mrs. Mark, she mentioned that she's in the purchasing role. And I might ask the question, like, what do you think is the difference between procurement and purchasing? But because of time, I'll just jump right in. So purchasing is more like a tactical position, whereas procurement will be a mid strategic position. And I'll explain myself. If you go in the public sector, procurement would tend to define how you procure, how you purchase, whereas the purchasing agent or specialist will execute the strategy. Depending on the size of the organization, you have people who will plan the procurement and execute as procurement specialists. Where you have purchasing agent, they'll have a purchasing manager who will plan the strategy, and the purchasing agent or specialist will execute. So there's more strategy in procurement than there is in purchasing. The common factor is what they take on. You're going to ask me, what is the strategic purchase? What makes a purchase strategic, right? It might be the dollar value, right? It might be the criticality of the item that you're purchasing. Or it could be the type of supplier you're dealing with. If it's a sole supplier with a pattern, you have to treat that supplier as a strategic partner, because if you can purchase from him, then your operation stops. So that is one thing that we will kind of like dive deep in. So the next thing that we will cover will be strategic sourcing. I touched a little bit on that. So sourcing is slightly different from procurement and purchasing, and in the sense that you source most of the time what you haven't purchased in your enterprise, or you have purchased it before, but you want to know if you are still competitive in the market. And once again, strategic can have a different meaning. So another topic that we cover during this training is contract management. Most supply procurement specialists, they are very familiar with purchase order. A purchase order itself is a contract. What is the contract life cycle? What is negotiations? Right? How do you prepare to be successful in negotiation? What is the baton? What is your contract execution versus preparation? So we look at the contract management, and for people who are familiar with ERPs, there are some ERPs which integrate very interestingly and very beautifully the contract management life cycle, and give you like an end-to-end view of how it processes. One of them is SAP. So the third major topic that we cover is supplier performance, right? So when you source a supplier, you hire him through a purchase order or a contract. Then you want to see if he's delivering on his promise, right? And that goes through some KPIs that you set with that supplier. That goes through some criteria that you define, and you need to engage with that supplier in a certain way. So all those different elements are covered under the supplier performance topic. Now, most companies are in the business for value, for revenue, and some other are there for value, like not for profit. And at the end of the day, the study has proven that you can increase the profitability of the company by actioning or reducing the cost more efficiently than having your revenue increases. So cost and value analysis will be another topic that we will cover. And there'll be some mathematics there, but don't be scared. If I was able to do it, you will be able to do it for sure. So our next one will be we're going to look at what are the typical career roles that you should expect once you land your procurement certificate. Remember at the beginning, I mentioned procurement special agent, which is typically the lower role in the procurement field. Then the next step will be a procurement specialist who does a little bit of sourcing, more kind of mid-strategic. And then you will have the procurement. So procurement analyst or procurement specialist will do some of the planning, like how do we actually want to place our orders. You will do a bit of strategic sourcing as well. After the procurement analyst or procurement specialist position, you have what is called either a buyer, which they have like a bigger portfolio, dollar value, and they might be involved in more like contract negotiations, product formation, execution, and management. Or you can have like a sourcing specialist, right, who will do sourcing, sure, but they most of the time will deal with some contract, because what will happen after a category manager does his work, he will say, okay, this line of safety will now give it to one supplier, which means the dollar value will move from small 5,000 to like a big $200,000, which goes above, let's say, $100,000 threshold, and that will be a contract. So you have to draft that contract, negotiate it, and monitor the contract. So that is your sourcing specialist. Then from there, you can move to a procurement lead, procurement manager, category manager, and director, and the sky is the limit, right? You can move in, and the position title would depend on the organization and depend on the industry where you're working as well. So that is, in a nutshell, like we really summarize what we are covering as topics. And so what I will do for the few minutes that I have left, I will take some questions from the audience. I think I saw one question. Oh, no, that was I didn't. But I'll stop there for now. If there's any questions from the audience, and I'll be happy to answer. It will be on the format of the study group. Oh, actually, I can just drop one or two things there. How do we run these study group sessions? So there are sessions of 3 hours each. So what we do, we gather, we encourage people to read the material before they come, because essentially what we want to do during our meetup is to answer the questions that you have, to go through like the mock questions, to give you real life examples. So what I bring on the table is overall 14 plus years in supply chain overall. So I'll give you example in warehousing, distribution, transportation. I'll bring you a real life example in procurement from the public side. I'll give you examples in project management from the non-for-profit and the profit. So that is where we want you to really tap into the experience. The second thing is we want you to gain and to um, benefit from the experience of the other people and the other students, because we all come from various backgrounds. The experience that I have had in country A versus country B is different. I might have experienced an issue, and once I share that with you, that might be the one um, example that you throw during your job interview in a star format, and you land that job. So we really value contribution and collective contribution during those sessions. What also happens there are some about 120 questions that exist in the LMS, which is the learning management system of ASCM/serial project. And then we go through some of them for every chapter. That give you a sense of how the questions will come, give you also a sense of how to understand the question, especially when you have a doubt. And the beauty of this procurement certificate is that you can take it more than one time. Ideally, we want you to take it at the first shot, but the more you do it, the more you can correct the more you practice, the more you can be ready for the final exam. And it's very friendly. So if you hit my head, I can just like turn my camera off, but I'll keep talking. But like we always make sure that it's a fun time, very well spent on a weekend. So I'll stop there for now and hear if there's any question.
All right, thanks, Gucci. So I actually dropped in a quiz there just to make things a little bit more interactive. So you would see the results now. So which area are you most interested in? Yeah, I see procurement out of the 7 folks that actually responded. 43% planning, 43% technology, 0%, really. That's an interesting one. And then I guess folks came here to learn about supply chain management and procurement, not about technology. But it is just something that we need to make it normal now that technology is part of supply chain, and it should always be a consideration for anyone that is supply chain. But it's interesting to see that anyway. And then of course, finally, supplier relationship management. So which makes me want to put the questions here to you, Guti. Uh, Procurement versus supplier relationship management. What are you saying here in terms of the response to this poll? And is there any similarity? Are they different, 2 different functions? Why are we having it at two different certificates is what I'm trying to ask.
Well, great question. So just before I answer the question, I'll quickly make a comment on the technology versus procurement. So my very recent experience is that the major companies will want specific technology skills. And one of them will be SAP, and some company will gear toward Oracle. So you might have the capability, the competencies overall. But in big organization, you need to have some technology knowledge. So I really encourage people to consider that. And that's happened to me like numerous times in the past 6 months. So now to answer your question, procurement versus supplier relationships. So in big organization, they split the role. So you will always engage with the supplier when you're a procurement specialist. But what will happen is that when the company grows super big, they want someone who specializes in maintaining, building a relationship with suppliers. And for you to be a very successful procurement specialist, when you go, I'll say at a lead position, strategic, it will be more communication, it will be more engagement, it will be more soft skills, it will be more data driven. So that's where you move from being, you are tactical, you do some strategic, I'll say in terms of contracting, but you don't dive deep into how do I grow this relationship to move from a transactional relationship to a strategic relationship where I'm shifting 10% of my business to be now like a 30-40% higher risk, but like long-term commitment, aligned vision, aligned mission. So that is where I see the difference. But 100%, whoever is a procurement specialist has to have some skills to manage his day-to-day relationship with the supplier.
All right, thanks. I guess when Adela takes his own session, we're also going to ask the same question. But for now, we would like to point your attention to the questions in the chat. We would like to get some feedback from you guys as well to know what to address, especially as we talk about the study groups and how we provide support in those areas. We would like to know what kind of support you require. So the first question is, what is your biggest career challenge right now? And then the next one says, have you ever performed procurement tasks without the job title? So if you can help us to respond to those, that would be great. So over to Lucky, where we'll be talking about the supply chain planning. Yeah, over to you, Lucky.
Thank you, Abby. Good presentation. You almost say it all. So, my name is Lucky Nduchwa. I have been working in operation and supply chain management for more than 20 years now. Because I was a production manager before, operation manager, quality manager, so, and also a, a support for continuous improvement. So I decided to focus more on my career in operational excellence. So now I help company to build the continuous improvement capability, right? Because when you reach a certain level of expertise, now the next step is to really help the company get the most of the business. So that is what I do now. In less than 3 months, I help a company to get a bronze certificate. The company was running for more than 25 years now. So you can see that the supply chain is very helpful. So that is based on my experience in supply chain, planning, operation management, and quality. My career started in Cameroon. I was a technical brewer. Then I got promoted manufacturing manager, and then operation and packaging manager, production manager also. And I decided to immigrate to Canada. And up to now, everything is going very well. I have my certificate or certification in supply chain management with Supply Chain Canada, even if you are working with ASCM. So this means that I have enough knowledge and background in supply chain planning that I will have the pleasure to facilitate in the next coming week. Is it so? Yeah. Okay. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn, so you will have a overview of my background, and I will be very happy to support you in your journey. I always say that everything starts with planning. If you fail to plan, it means that you are planning to fail. That's why planning is very important in everything that we make for the company and also for ourselves. Okay. I will share maybe the content of a supply chain planning certificate with you. Then we can discuss after. Is it possible for me to share, Abby? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, it's coming up.
Okay. So the first section is synchronized planning. You know, before people were working in silos. Planning was the job of sales and operation planning. So people were not communicating each other. That's why uh, overproduction happened and sometimes stock out. So the best practice now is to do a synchronized planning. It's like a kind of model of integrated business planning. This means that the requirement of customer, external and internal are taken into consideration. What are their needs? What are the capabilities that we have in the plan operation? What are the machine capacity and so on? So this means that the supply chain, logistic, production, operation, sale and marketing, we work together to have the planning for the year. That can be not just for 1 year, maybe 2 to 3 years. That is strategic planning. Now, the next one is strategy planning. It's a bit uh, tough because before coming out with a plan, you have to study your internal and external environment. For example, SWOT, you have to run that analysis. What are the strengths of the organization, the weaknesses, the threat and opportunities. Now, sometimes people will confuse opportunities with threat. No, the best way to have those opportunity and threat is to run the pestle analysis. Which means that the environment external to your company, which means political, economical, social, technological for people with technological. So this means that technology is enabler for production and supply chain. So we have to learn technology. And SIP is very a good one to learn. And legal environment of the company are also what are the implications of the company activities on the environment. So once you have all those information, you can now sit down and make a business planning. The next big one is demand planning and SOP. Demand planning and SOP, the purpose is to come out with a production plan. So because production produce to satisfy customer, that's why sales and marketing will sit down with production and then evaluate what are the quantity of product that we have to produce for this year. And then they will come out with a production plan. And the next one is master scheduling. Master scheduling, the purpose is to produce a master production schedule. The master production schedule is all the SKU, which means stock keeping unit, or all the brand that you will be producing during the year. If we take maybe the example of a brewery, that could be maybe a soft drink, that could be a beer, that could be a ready to drink. So that is summarized by category. Now, once you have that master production schedule, you must produce a material requirement plan, because for every product you have material. The product is the parent, and every parent have a child. So the children are the material that you need to combine to make the final product. So that is the essence of material requirement planning. Once everything is done, the next step is execution. I know that Gauthier spoke earlier about purchasing. So purchasing order is based on material that we want to procure to satisfy our internal customer with the production. So that we start with that. We have material in our store. And now, how do you do to trigger the production? You have to plan also. You have production activity control that is triggered with the production order or process order. And process order sometimes is planned with the master production scheduler. So he work hand with the production department to produce this kind of plan. So as you can see, planning is everywhere, from the start of supply chain to the end. This means that even for distribution and so on, you have to plan. You have to know what is the available space that you have in your warehouse before producing. Meanwhile, you will have maybe a problem of space, and we don't produce just to store, we produce to sell. So, and one aspect also very interesting of planning is just-in-time supply. That one is really tricky, and sometimes just-in-time supply is for customer, for supplier who are certified with the company. This means that those are very good supplier who are very committed, right? And if you don't have that kind of supplier, you cannot succeed with just-in-time supply. So it's very, and that is a best practice nowadays. If you work in the manufacturing system, you will just notice that for big production company, they always apply just-in-time supply because of problem of space, constraint of capacity, and they don't want to manage also the inventory, right? It's very important. I forgot one aspect is capacity planning. So this means that you have to analyze what do you have on place to make the production happen. And it's not a good practice to run at 100% capacity, because if you have maybe a surge demand, how can you do? You cannot satisfy that customer. If you have a breakdown, for example, his machine just went out, what can you do? you will not have enough space for buffer. So that's why capacity planning is very important. And the last one is resource planning. This means people, machine. Do you have enough machine to run the production, to have the product that you need? Do you have enough people? Do you have people that are trained and so on? How do you plan vacation and so on to make sure that the production planning that you have made will not be satisfactory for the production team? So as a production planner or master scheduler, you have to know what is supply chain planning. It's very important. Okay, I don't know if you have questions for me. Do you want me maybe to...
I don't see any questions, but I do have some, I guess, some prompts from what I'm learning about supply chain planning. I didn't start my own career in supply chain planning, so it's funny that sometimes when I'm now talking about supply chain, I totally just gray out supply chain planning. And I don't know if you guys know Jide. So Jide is one of the very experienced supply chain planner in our community. And then he said, okay, where is supply chain planning in all of this? I have no idea. And then he says, nothing happens in supply chain without supply chain planning.
That is it.
And you can hear that from what Lucky has been saying since that there is actually a lot of things that goes on in the back end in the in planning areas, and you can see a lot of things that goes into this that is huge. And a lot of the times I don't come across a lot of people who actually see supply chain planning as their first choice, which makes me want to ask the questions around supply chain planning. Is it only engineers that are most suitable for supply chain planning career, or is it just the way people see that it's only engineers that are concerned with supply chain? Because it's mostly in the manufacturing sector, right? Although we know that nowadays, based on the type of challenges we deal with in every other area, demand planning and all of that is also now a thing. But is this career only restricted to engineers, or it's not agnostic as to your background?
Abby, I don't know if Lucky can allow me to drop something there that might fit his answer.
All right.
I was thinking back to my distribution planner role in a warehousing distribution center in the retail space, and listening to Lucky now and to some of the other workshop I've listened. So supply chain planning is really like an umbrella to me, because what I did as a distribution planner was like exactly capacity planning. I wanted to see, do we have enough space to receive like 10 trailers in our warehouse? Do we have enough space to put away like 7 trailers? Do we have enough doors to back up enough trailers to load everything that was it? He mentioned resource planning. I had to think, do we have enough people who work tomorrow? If not, how many hours overtime do I have to schedule? Or like how many trailers do I have to postpone for store ABC for us to be able to serve everyone to the minimum? So, and we were working I was working at that position with other departments. And you mentioned demand planners. There were demand planners and there were supply planners. So once you start breaking down the specialities, I'll say, underneath the supply chain planning, you might have a distribution planner, you might have like a demand planner, a supply planner, and um, and depending on the size, you might even have someone who specializes in because we're working on a network of warehouses or distribution center. We had someone who was specialized in where should we put the fourth distribution center in Canada based on all the 52 stores, based on the volume, based on the inbound coming from east and west. So just like dropping that there to feed the answer that Lopi will give.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Yeah, that was good to hear. Yes, actually, but some company will mix the demand planner with a supply planner, but it's two different roles, right? So, as you said, a plan is not a job of engineer. My background is biochemistry, right? But what I do now is working with the leadership team for business planning. I am not an engineer, so it starts with that. Once the the strategy planning is done, then we move with the operation teams and then see how we can make. I don't want to confuse you. We call that the ocean carry. It means that the strategic plan is breakdown into tactical plan, right? With all the department. After that, okay, production will take its part, purchasing will take its part, and so on. Then we will go through the execution. So planning is not engineering job. From my experience, the engineer will work with the planning team when it comes to the project like maybe they want to install it, they want to buy a new piece of equipment, they are designing a new product, and then they will just work with specification and then hand over to the planning team for procurement strategy and so on. So don't be afraid with planning. Planning is everything in supply chain.
All right, you heard that. Planning is everything in supply chain. Okay, thanks so much for that very deep dive. I mean, for the deep dive into supply chain planning. So I had a question here. Which planning skill do you want to strengthen most? Well, I guess this would be for somebody who is already in planning. But are there any questions in any particular area that Lucky has mentioned so far when it comes to supply chain planning? So now we can move to the supplier relationship management aspect. All right. You can still keep your questions in there. We will have some time to quickly go over those ones that we haven't answered before.
The other, sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to ask Lucky, the just in time, the GIT, I don't know if
Yes.
he can just expand more on that with maybe an example, just to see how it really works.
Okay, thank you for your question. Okay, just in time supply or just in time manufacturing. So the purpose is to save space for inventory and also rely on your supplier to manage your stock. Because inventory when it's money, right? And the company want their product directly when they are ready for production. And as I said before, to do that, you have to work with a certified supplier. Maybe Gochi can explain that further. A certified supplier is a supplier that you recognize that is highly committed and that the product is material is always the highest level of quality. So once you identify that kind of supplier and say that, okay, this is my certified supplier, now you will sit down with the supplier and run the uh, collaborative planning and replenishment. It's a kind of planning, right? So you will sit down and run that kind of analysis on the side of the customer. They can give a blank contract to the supplier. Which means that, okay, for this year, maybe I need like 20 tons of material. But I will don't need that one time. So then we make a plan each month. This is the quantity that you will be supplying to my facility. And then every month they will be reviewing the plan based on how the production is running, based on the market demand and so on. So they will just supply when the customer need the material for production. Is it clear for you?
Yes. So,
Yes.
yes, it is. Because I remember we had a situation in my office one time. We
Yeah.
ran out of plywood, which is one of
Yeah.
our major materials for production. So to avoid that situation, I discussed with one of our suppliers, right?
Yeah.
I looked at the number of builds we had for a certain period. I calculated the amount of plywood that we will need, and I told them, okay, please, can you stock this for us? I gave them a PO for that quantity, and for every
Yes.
time we need you to release to us, we will send an email, and then you just deliver to us. So that's JIT, right?
Yes,
Um,
I agree. But you want that
okay,
one that need to be planned ahead, right? Because we want to
okay,
avoid firefighting, right? You want to
true,
have the
yeah,
good plan. If anything change on your side, you have to
yeah,
communicate to your supplier to avoid delay.
okay, okay,
Yep. Yep.
all right. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, thanks for the questions and thanks for the great response here, Lucky. So we will move over to Adela here. We'll be talking about supplier relationship management. After which you will then go over the LMS just for everything, so you could see how it works in the back end. And then I will talk about the study group, how it's operated, and what you will need to do to enroll for the LMS. I mean, for the certificate. So over to you, Adela.
Hello everyone. I'll be speaking briefly about the ASCM Supply Relationship Management Certificate. Most supply chain professionals are trained to manage transactions, or very few are trained to manage relationships, manage risks, to manage long-term value. And this is exactly where this certificate comes in. And so it's geared towards people who are in supply chain, which is the name that covers a multitude of professions, or procurement, operations, contract, vendor management. The idea of the certificate is to encourage career growth, credibility, and strategic impact. What is supplier relationship management? It basically is the discipline that deliberately, intentionally manages supplier relationships with the idea to reduce risks, to improve performance, to drive innovation, and to create shared values. Supply relationship management is critical. Present day is to also move us from just being transactional and then knowing the nitty-gritty of what we do, to be able to grow into leadership capabilities. The course has 6 modules that will basically break down supply relationship management, and it goes further to say how critical SRM is, as is the acronym for supply relationship management, not just by the ASCM, but generally in the field. I'm sure that's not strange to anyone. But the ASCM frames SRM as a response to supply chain distribution, supply chain disruptions, geopolitical risks, ESG, indigenous procurement, sustainability obligations. These are things that most times are our vendors, third-party stakeholders, are custodians of. We have complex service providers from IT, professional services, construction, energy. It also looks at the third party when it comes to public sector accountability and audit scrutiny. Module 1 discusses what SRM is. It talks about its evolution. It speaks about the different types of supply relationships, where like your vendor relationship, the kind of alliances that you have, how important partnerships are. It talks about types of contracts. It also speaks about the benefits and the challenges. The idea is that supply relationship management is that it's geared directly towards that relationship. So it's beyond just having a contract with someone, but how we manage that relationship and to hold our third-party stakeholders as strategic assets. The second module talks about selection of suppliers. So it will go into criteria for supplier selection, which are the things that we all know. It talks about cost, quality, delivery, sustainability. It goes into sourcing strategies. That mistake, if I call it that many people make the difference between sole source and single source, and then multi-source, is something I find myself always trying to explain, even at work. But this is not the study group, so I'm just talking about what the certificate would entail. The third module basically talks about developing suppliers. So you get to do frameworks for supplier development. It speaks about collaboration and innovation. It delves into financial assistance mechanisms, and then capacity building and joint improvement. So continuous improvement, like Lucky spoke about, is key in supply chain management. And SRM basically moves you also, like it does purchasing into procurement, basically from tactical to strategic. So for you to become a real value creator, SRM is something that you should hold dear, if I should call it that. So you're not just a cost controller, but you are creating value. The fourth module speaks about performance management. So it dives into performance metrics, evaluation methods, feedback, because that feedback loop has to be maintained. There's more on continuous improvement programs, how to use the SCORE model, and automation when it comes to reporting. The idea is that it's not just contracts that we're managing, but we're managing the outcomes. A happy vendor is a happy client, literally. Module 5 would be speaking about risk management. So in risk management, we've got the typical steps: risk identification to risk assessment, categorizing your risks. Then we go to mitigation, transfer of risks, accepting risks, then finally to risk registers and monitoring. So it's risk management is something that's valued by leadership of organizations, because with high-powered SRM, you become what I would call, I mean, it enables your risk governance capabilities, if I should put it that way. Then finally, the sixth module speaks about the supply relationship management frameworks. It speaks about ethical conduct, supplier codes. There's some technology talk in there, analytics, future trends, artificial intelligence. It kind of makes a segue into how we could manage our supply relationships using digital transformations and things like ESG. And that's something that leadership would like to see. So for those who are in consulting, this is something you want to help grow your portfolio. If you are an employer, these are the kind of things, if you're an employee, these are the kind of things that your employer would want to see. So all I've said is basically that the ASCM SRM certificate is to help you go from a tactical buyer to a strategic partner. It helps you go from being reactive to proactive. It's far less cost focused, but now we've moved on to value, risk, and resilience. Supply chain resilience is one of those terms that are bandied around, but it can occur in different ways, shapes, and forms with regards to the industry that you are in. But it also helps you go from just being operational into being leadership oriented. So for each and every one of us who is here who might want to take the certificate, it's basically just going to empower you to show credibility for your experiences that you have. So as procurement officers that we are, whoever is doing category management, managing vendors, doing contracts, subcontracting.
Roads between Prince George and Vanderhoef are good to go. Clouds are out.
Okay, going on. So basic supply chain leaders, operations leaders who are managing key suppliers. If you are at a rudimentary level where you're not exactly managing third-party suppliers, it might not bring a whole lot of value to you unless it's something you're looking at to jump into. But as we say, no knowledge is lost. It shows credibility. It shows your leadership capability. So supplier relationship management is not just a role. In my experience, I find that there are organizations that do not do a whole lot with vendor management. So if you are equipped with this certificate, it kind of empowers you when it comes to your organization. Leadership looks at you with a different eye, that you have the skills when it comes to vendor management, supplier relationship management. When your ideas become something that they can relate with, that would bring value to the organization. The idea is that it should help accelerate your career. So we're moving from, like I said, this buyer to more like a business partner. You're not just executing processes, but you are a strategic advisor. You're not there to just do cost savings and cost cutting, but you are creating value. And it seems like it's geared more towards senior leadership roles, but not necessarily, because if you were to write a contract, you are directly speaking to a third-party vendor. And if it comes down to it and you are put in at a table for negotiation, you would then understand how the win-win thing comes in when you understand supplier relationship management. So the idea is for the certificate to be able to increase your personal, what do I call it now, credibility, your own personal ROI. It encourages you to have stronger strategic thinking, better stakeholder credibility. You can have higher level conversations when it comes to speaking with external parties and with leadership teams. It gives you more confidence with leading suppliers and then better positioning, if I should call it that, for promotions, for leadership, for consulting. So the general advice would be for you to enroll in the ASCM course, something that Abby will speak about later. It's a 20-hour study. Take the exam. Most of these exams, you could take them. So that's the difference between certificates and certifications. And the idea is to take the exam, pass it, and earn your badge. And that's pretty much what this is about, the ASCM Supplier Relationship Management Certificate. Thank you.
Thank you, Adela, for covering for us on the supplier relationship management. What I also want to say that there are actually other type of certificates. However, these ones are the ones that we are recommending for folks who are trying to transition to either supply chain procurement, or they're already working, like they had experience in these areas, though they have not really been able to work in their professional areas. And we know these are things that we normally experience as newcomers in Canada. What we have observed is that there is a high level of barrier for foreign professionals in Canada. It's the reality. And one of the things you could really use to leverage is certification, industry certifications. Because guess what? If you had 10 years, 20 years experience, unfortunately, when you come to Canada, it hardly counts unless there's this industry certification that could help as a social proof of the experiences that you had from back home. So these ASCM certificates are one of those strategies that we are using to help folks who would like to transition sooner through their chosen career and where they had experiences from their home countries. The reason being that it is not as expensive as the others de facto. I don't want to mention names, right? Other de facto certifications. I'm talking about tens of times as expensive. Whereas when it comes to these certificates, it's something you could use to quickly um, obtain some social proof of your experience and your background in supply chain. And it's something you can achieve within 6 weeks. Now, the choice of how you hope to achieve that, either through serial projects or directly with ASCM, is up to you. But what we are doing here is to actually provide this moral support, is what I will call it, because we're not going to be teaching you in these sessions. We would rather be discussing as colleagues to gain insights into your experience and how it connects with the content of these certificate programs. And it's something you will be able to achieve within 6 weeks based on our scheduling, such that before the end of this session, it is even possible that you already obtained the certificate on your own. But we highly, highly recommend the study group because of that moral support that I mentioned. It is a different thing to study going through theoretical stuff than when you actually have colleagues who have practiced it, who understands each of those areas based on their own unique experiences. They can share those with you, because some of those who join these sessions are just trying to transition from a different background entirely. So those will definitely need this type of support. You're a banker, you're an administrative person, you did some type of work related to procurement. However, you didn't have a specific procurement role or a specific supplier relationship or vendor management role. And this will be something that will be very, very valuable, because then you can hear it from somebody who have actually done it, and then can be able to relate better that way than just the theoretical stuff you would find on the content of ASCM. So that is why we have this, and it's something that could be achieved sooner than those de facto certification that might take you like 2 years. I've heard some people done it within 1 year, but that's just like that's I mean, everybody have some life, like you have family, you have work and all that. I would say for those de facto certifications, you might take like 2 years to actually be able to achieve it, and a very huge cost as well. So this is a preferable way to step in, to just step in and see what is going on and then kind of build on that later, and also use it to break into the industry, as I said earlier. So Justina said, what if I have a 5 years experience in warehouse and a master's in degree in international operations supply management? Is that enough to get into the industry here in Canada? Do I really need this certification again? That's a very good question. And it's something I actually would have with people every day, whenever I have this conversation of, especially job search in Canada, right? Job search in Canada, it's a different ball game entirely. It's something we would like to talk about in some other session. But just to quickly answer you, and I will also pass this on to the facilitators to answer this, but from my own take is that you definitely need certification in Canada, even if you have a PhD, to be able to work in the industry. This comes usually from people who have done diplomas. And I tell them, look, all you have is the academic background. It's a good step, and they don't tell us this when they are trying to sell these courses to us in those colleges. You will still have to come out and then do a certification to actually be considered to be ready for a career in supply chain. Supply chain is such, unique profession that it will always require you to have a certification, unlike maybe the other type of courses you did in school, right? So, but I'll pass it over to Adela since you're the one that just had that session.
Which one do you want me to answer? The first question, skills? I can hear you, Abby, you're muted. Okay.
You're muted, Abby. We can hear you.
Why am I muting
You were
myself?
muted, yes.
Okay. So the question really has to do with, do you really need certification again after masters and diplomas?
Well, okay, I saw a question before that one, so I was wondering if you wanted me to take both questions about the skills that might be sought by professionals in. Well, you have 5 years experience and a master's in international operations and supply chain management, but I think Abby did a good job in trying to answer that question. It depends, would be my response. If people do certifications for different reasons. I have about 20 years experience in supply chain management. I've taken a few certificates and certifications, and I still have more to take. I'm taking them with regard to the way the industry is moving, what I have planned for my own career path. It's not only for employment purposes, because you asked about getting into the industry. And when you say the industry, we're not sure which industry you want to be getting into. You worked in warehousing, so if you're going into a warehouse setting and something like Lucky talked about in his experience, and there's a whole lot of demand planning that you need to do, and the sort of supply chain planning that would be involved in that. If you had the certificate in supply chain planning, it would be a key to a door, right? So the supply chain planning, if you're going into that kind of industry, yes. If you're going into a role that's core procurement, you might not need to take supply chain planning. But when you have this certificate, but like Abby said, they're in quotes easier to get than the actual than the de facto, which was the word he used, certifications. They just reinforce your credibility. They do the extra, they give you some extra weight in your portfolio when employers are looking at that, or clients. It depends on what you're going into, because there's always that fine line between job seeking employee and consulting. So you never know where you find yourself. But the more you reinforce yourself with these certificates, I think you stand a better chance of having a clearer footing in the industry, wherever you are, as a job seeker, as someone who's looking for promotion, someone who's trying to do a career switch or growth, whichever way. But so the answer would be a yes, nonetheless. It would be a yes. If I was going to answer the question with regards skills, I think that question was posted for three of us. I, Gautier, and Lucky. It says what are the skills that are most sought for professionals in, I will take supplier relationship management. It's interesting that this would require a whole lot of soft skills when it comes to SRM, because it's third-party relations, stakeholder engagement that you're going to be doing. So definitely SRM professionals who can talk to executives about value, risk, and outcomes, not just things like pricing and compliance. So your commercial strategic skills should come into place, your relationship skills, leadership skills, but I will jump into things like influencing, because if you're doing SRM for your organization, you are you're an ambassador for your employer, and you want to be able to win on their behalf. So I would call it influencing skills. So it's not just some kind of command and control, but it's some kind of orchestration that would be required. And then there'll be skills that have to do with understanding risks. Disruptions, supply chain disruptions are a normal thing in present day industry. So you should be able to understand the need to be proactive and not reactive. So I'll call it some kind of risk sensitive skills that may lean towards resilience also. Then one which is key, which one I mentioned, that many organizations, as I have found, do not have a very robust vendor management system. I would like to say, as we say, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, you can't defend it. So that speaks to data. So your data skills with regards understanding performance, that would lead you towards the technology where people are running away from. Yeah, so there's a need for that. When you speak about KPIs, it comes down to things like that. Performance dashboards. What's your Power BI knowledge? It depends on what your organization is doing. Root cause analysis. So all of that, speaking to continuous improvement, there's a whole lot of data that one needs to have. Then I think generally things that have got to do with change management. So skills in that regard, because the world is changing ever so quickly. If you are a recent newcomer to Canada and you've jumped into an industry, if you've come from, say, private sector, startup industry, and you see the fast pace, and you come here and jump into government, you see the difference in the speed, vis-a-vis the world talking about things like artificial intelligence, and there's a whole lot of new technology adaptation that's happening. So your change management skills to speed up or to slow down, just so I think that has a whole lot to do with your collaboration skills. I think I should call it that. And I think that's all I can come up with right now, but they are mostly soft skills when it comes to SRM. I hope that I have done justice to that question when it comes to supplier relationship management.
All right, thanks, Adela. Gauthier, you want to go for it?
Short on the question from Justina. So I assume the master's degree he got was overseas. So, and what I'll say is just Gautier's opinion, right? It's not Sarah project at all. So my feeling is that in this market, certifications, actually professional certifications, are more valued than a general like diploma, masters. That's my perception. So which means that it's usually good to have a certifications on the top of the master's degree. That's the first thing. Second thing, I would say if you are pivoting from warehousing to supply chain planning, you need to have a knowledge of the jargon, of the terminologies, of the language that they are using. And for that, a certificate is the key. And the advantage of using a study group would have you cross knowledge and experience with other folks. So I would highly recommend. So you can build up on your experience in warehousing. If you want to pivot into supply chain planning, I recommend that you take a certificate. It's less expensive than let's say, a diploma in supply chain planning. It's more practical, and I think you are connecting with folks who are already in the field and who might be your references in the future. And then a quick add on to what Adela said regarding the soft skills. Usually what will happen, and I've learned it the hard way sometimes, people who grow fast in companies are people who speak the leadership language. I know we usually people African backgrounds, small talk is not our thing, but the small talks, coffee, small break, that's where the decisions are made. And if you go there, you start talking about pricing, POs, where they want to hear like risk mitigation, they want to do long term, they want to see stripe, they want to hear strategy. Then they will be bored after the first coffee break. So if you speak the language, you touch on politics, how it affects operations. You touch on, like overseas tsunami and how it affects your whole supply chain. That is how you're going to connect with them, and they will keep you in mind for your growth in your career. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Gauthier. Over to you, Lucky.
Yeah, I will not come back to what Gauthier or Ajila said because it's trivial, right? Even if you have a master degree, for example, me, I have a master in business administration, you still have to have that certificate or certification in the domain that you want to uh, perform in Canada, right? It's very important. It's one of the things that I realized when I came here in Canada. The power of certification, the power of certificate, because it's professional, it's not academic, right? Because they will teach you what you really need to know to excel on your position. That is why company really like people who have certification. Even me, when I am in the hiring committee, if I want to select somebody, two people with same background, educational background, I will take first the person with certification because it's professional. And that is it. And I want to touch a little bit the digital skills. We speak about digital technical knowledge, also soft skills. But digital knowledge is very important for people who want to make a planning, a career. ERP, SAP is very important. Almost in all the company that I work with in Canada, they use SAP for process order. And that function in SAP is core one. When you go to core one, that allows you to create all the process order that production will be needed to make the production. So it's very important to learn to have those digital skills. If you want to work in warehouse, try to understand how warehouse management system works. Because nowadays the system is completely automated. So product will come from production, and then warehouse management system will know where the product will be stored, and so on. And when we put the order in the SAP system, the order will be sent to robotics. And robotics will know that, okay, I will take this product on this side and the second one on that side and put together to make the order, right? So that's why digital skills is very important to learn. And also system thinking, because your decision always impact others. You are within a chain. This means that you have customer and supplier. If you don't think globally, your decision can impact other people, right? So I just mentioned also Power BI, very important. No Power BI, very almost every company use Power BI. How to extract information from Power BI and use those information to tell story, right? We use those information to make your planning, for example. What are the past results? What are the trends? Is it okay to order this quantity by this time? So you need all those analysis skills to really succeed in planning and supply chain management. Okay, that's all for me.
All right, thanks so much. I think with that said, there's a lot of help that you guys have done already with the supply chain technology aspect. I don't have to go into it because there's the poll we took earlier where folks said that they're not interested mostly in the supply chain technology for ASCM. But I think for those who want to specialize in supply chain technology, this will probably be a presentation that will help you to understand some of the content. Let's give me a second here. Or some of this technology that is covered. I'm trying to open it up here. Let me see. All right. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen now? All right. So I'm just going to quickly go through it. When we talk about technology, we already know that there's nothing we can do in supply chain these days that doesn't involve technology. And some of it has been mentioned already by Adela, by Gauthier, and Lucky. So this is just a quick overview of what it entails. Though we didn't mention all the technologies, however, blockchain, it's a very, very important technology in supply chain. I do remember a project that I worked on that has to do with tracking the authenticity of human hair, that's in fashion, to determine that the origination of those products, to ensuring that they are not fake products. So it's blockchain technology that we were going to deploy on that particular project. It's basically helping with authentication, and there's some type of automation that can be built on the back of that particular technology. I'm sure you guys know about the blockchain, or the popular one that is used in fintech. So it's the same baseline technology. However, the way it's used in supply chain is different. An example that I can quickly mention is the one with Walmart. So Walmart has some challenges with processing their carriers' invoices. Usually it's a lot of reconciliation that is taking up a whole lot of time. And they had to deploy the blockchain technology where they actually piloted with Bison. I'm sure you guys know Bison Transport is a Manitoba-based carrier, and they collaborated with Bison on that particular technology, and it basically eliminated 90% of the administrative work that goes into the invoicing process. And this goes back to the SRM we were talking about earlier, and also the JIT thing that Lucky mentioned. You will realize that the reason they chose Bison for that particular implementation is that Bison is one of their certified suppliers. And they realize that Bison already has a framework that they can actually then use to deploy that technology successfully. And also there is the supplier relationship management layer, which helps it to become a very successful project. So that's blockchain. I won't talk about advanced analytics. You guys already talked about it. Talking about the BI, the big data, all of these technologies are actually being implemented in supply chain. The Internet of Things is also another one. The Internet of Things is very, very, very important, especially when it comes to supply chain operations. You remember when we had the COVID situation, and then there are a lot of risks around international transportation. I do remember there were also some implementations in those areas that has to do with big data and the use of Internet of Things. It also facilitated a lot of supply chain planning activities because every product, every resource, every machine that is involved in our supply chains are actually then part of an internet protocol technology whereby they could be used for planning purposes. And they also could be used to facilitate a lot of operations and execution, logistics execution. Talking about the data that can be passed from those different players, different objects, let's call it that. Those information that can be passed on to a platform or to a dashboard where this could be tracked using analytics. We could use it in generating reports. This type of reports could even tell us the quality of products that we are receiving, because there are some Internet of Things technology that is actually tracking the temperature of those products as they are being moved from wherever distance that they were, maybe from China or from South America. You could actually track using this Internet of Things technology to see if there has been changes in temperature, maybe in that transportation equipment that they were using. And all of this could be done through the implementation of Internet of Things technology. Cybersecurity, and we don't need to even overemphasize that because we already realize that there's a huge risk management aspects of supply chain that we can also drill it down to the cybersecurity implementation. I hope you guys remember the situation with some oil and gas facility in United States where they were shut down for a long time because they were attacked. And it's just interesting how supply chain is so invasive that there's no way you can talk about supply chain without talking about technology, because everything is in the industry that we call Industry 4.0 has to do with technology. Just mention that technology, you would find some example or some case studies of this in supply chain. So I mentioned demand planning earlier. Like this technology also helps in facilitating demand planning. Additive manufacturing being 3D printing, where manufacturing could really use this technology. I do understand that it helps manufacturing in a very distributed way, that you don't have to wait until some products are produced somewhere in China or South America before it gets to you. Like if you have a 3D machine and the specification and all that is loaded in that particular component, especially those components that we call in our procurement segmentation, these are the kind of products that if you don't have them, it could totally mess up your production process. However, they are very minute. They are very low cost. Still, if you don't have them, it's going to be a major breakdown for your supply chain. So 3D technology can be used in this case where you can just 3D print this particular item. So those are the things, all the rest that you have there is what I've pretty much gone on over. They're mentioning all the different aspects of this technology. For those who are interested in technology, I think ERP is also another one. We are having info session next week where we will talk specifically about ERPs. Actually surprised they didn't talk about ERP here in their overview, but ERP remains the mainstay for every type of technology that is deployed in an enterprise. So we are going to be talking about that next week. So I don't want to belittle bore you with that part because we already, well, we're going to be talking about it next week. So to talk about the offers that somebody asked questions about, okay, what is the cost of this? So like I mentioned in that response, it all depends on the choice of study that you decide to go with. There is the self-study. So if you choose self-study, it's definitely less than $1,000. Canadian dollars. I need to mention that because a lot of people will think it's US. No, it's Canadian dollars. And if you choose study groups, so we do charge a premium on study groups. I mean, study groups, because we have to pay the facilitators, right? We have to pay them for their time. So we put some premium amount on it to be able to get facilitators to help. And we can't overemphasize the need for these facilitators. It's from their experience. You're not just reading theories, boring stuff. And you can also get that cross knowledge of experience or cross experience with those guys who have actually practiced. They are also going through this, study groups, and that will definitely help you to achieve it faster within 6 weeks. Not something that you'll be, I know I when we started this session, I think it was one of the guys that joined earlier talking about they've actually signed up, but they actually didn't have the courage to go and write the exam. Whereas if you're in the study group, that wouldn't be a thing because we're going to be going through quizzes. And before the end of that study group, you already know or you have that confidence level to be able to take the exam and pass it at once. We also do a kind of progress tracking. I actually print your progress chart and send it over to you to let you know this is where you are. And we have a target of 80% usually by the end of the study group. So this way will keep you on the tip of your toes, so that you're not, life happens, you have a lot of things to juggle, but at the same time, we need to have that consistency in your study, and this is what will help you with. In your study group. We've seen a lot of people who register and then they end up losing the license because they were pushing and pushing and pushing until it all lapsed. So we don't want you to experience that. We want you to get it within 6 weeks so that you can start updating your resume with that certificate, and which is something very solid to have, especially if you're job searching or you're trying to break into the industry. And there are a lot of examples of people who worked with before. If you look at that chat, that link that I sent earlier, we have the landing page for the ASCM certificate. Go over it. You will see also how to enroll. By the way, we are taking waiting, what we call rolling enrollments. The rolling enrollments is just to say that we're not going to schedule until we have at least 5 minimum in each of those. But nonetheless, we know we're going to take it during the winter season, right? So it's either going to be in winter, it will be in spring, which is April, or it will be in the fall, or it will be later in the year. So we are going to have those sessions, but we're not going to schedule a particular date until we already have 5 enrollments. So if this is of interest to you, would like to join the study groups, then we will go on that link and then fill a form to indicate which of those certificates you will be interested in. There are also options for bundle enrollment, where you will get like discount on those bundle enrollments. By the way, you can also bundle with the SAP ERP end user training. So with that, you will also get a discount, which will help maybe accommodate or let's say lessen the amount you pay, especially for the premium on the study groups. If you do choose to bundle it up with either SAP ERP or you bundle with all these other certificates that we have there on the ASCM platform. So that's as far as the study group and how it works. In terms of the elements, I'm just going to quickly show you what it looks like on the LMS here. Let me see. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen here. Can you see my screen? Or you were still seeing what I had earlier?
Oh, we can see 3 screens.
You can see one now, right?
Now we can see one, yes.
Okay. So this is the supply chain procurement certificate, the way it looks on the elements. You can see all the modules, module 1, module 2, module 3, module 4, module 5, and then module 6, module 7. And then the other things you will see here is that there are flashcards, there are practice questions, and then you have your exam. The thing is that you won't be able to open these exams unless you are taking 80% of the content of this, the topics. You've been able to do 80% of it. So that way you have enough to be able to take the exam successfully. So our goal is always to get you to that 80% mark before the 5-week session actually that we have during the study group. So what it means is that we're just during those sessions we're having in this study group. Again, it's a study group. So you will have to study a week ahead before we meet in the study group. And that's when we kind of go over that with the help of the facilitator, and we'll do quizzes. And if question comes up, there will be questions that the facilitator can then help to answer from their own experience, and also the experience of others who are in those study groups. And also we have, I'm sure I'm still sharing the same thing. Give me a second here. We have this quiz here. So this is an example of the quiz. Can you see it? All right. So this is like a quiz here. It's saying scoring can be defined narrowly as the tactical buying of goods and services. Is that true or false? So this is an example. So sourcing, yeah, it's talking about tactical buying of goods and services. Is that true or false? So let's choose true. Okay, so you can score this question to get your answer if it's right or wrong. So the correct answer is true. Sourcing is tactical. And you can also get, I think, explanation after. Is that correct, Gucci? You'll get explanation, right?
Yeah, for some of the questions, yes, you have
Yeah,
some
you get
explanations.
explanation. Okay.
Yeah, but
Right.
for this specific one, there was 2 keywords, tactical and narrowly. And if they had say strategic sourcing, then be defined as narrowly as tactical buying, that would be a false because of the strategic
Right.
sourcing at the beginning of sourcing. So that's like some tricky techniques that you develop while doing the study group.
Yeah. Yeah, so you could see that, sometimes when they ask this question, you might think it's a simple question, but if you're not looking at the keywords, I almost stripped there because I didn't see strategic sourcing. What I saw is sourcing. For strategic sourcing, then that is not tactical. So these are very important things to understand when you are, taking these kind of questions. They are not Mostly, I think they are not scenario-based questions, but are there scenario questions at all, Gochi?
Very few. The majority are based on the knowledge.
The knowledge.
You have like few. I'll say you can have more than 5% of the questions that are, situational. They want to test your knowledge of the content for the most part. And then where you leverage your experience or the experience of your classmates it's, differentiating or identifying those keywords and, seizing like the nuance in the question that they ask.
All right. Thank you, Gucci. So, you guys can still hear me, right? All right. So this is the one for supply chain certificate. As you can see, I already opened it. I'll choose resume here. It's showing what I have in progress here. Let me go back to the classes. So you can see, okay, so this just threw me out entirely. Let me go to my courses. Okay, so this is the supply chain planning one, view course. Show full summary. Yeah, so these are all the supply chain certificate. So the thing you will also notice here is that there are different languages. There is the French, there is Spanish. So if you are speaking French and you prefer to do it in French, you can choose the French option. But this is what is contained there. What is synchronized planning, strategy planning, business. So all those things that Lucky had gone over earlier. And then it also has the exam here. I believe you have to pass 70%, say 70%. That will be the same thing for the procurement certificate, right? Yeah, get up to 70% before you can pass. And the other thing I need to mention here is that there is no limit to the number of times you can actually take it. That's what a lot of people don't know. Like literally just after that study group, you can take the exam right away. You know that you have that assurance that you're going to be able to take it again. So there's really no big deal. I see a lot of people after the study group, they want to wait and go over the whole thing again. No, you don't need it. Just take the exam. Now look at all those things that you probably haven't scored or you haven't gotten well, and then just review them and then go and attempt it. And you should be able to pass it the second time. So that's what I would normally recommend. So it's something that you actually could get it within a 6 weeks period. So it's practical. It's not like, oh, we're just saying 6 weeks because we want to sell it. No, you can get it within 6 weeks. So I would recommend that you take this, especially if you don't have any type of certification already in supply chain and you want to break into supply chain. These are the entry level certifications you could take to get you started immediately. So I'll go say you had a question.
Yeah, so a quick full question. How many people on the call are currently working? If you can just like maybe raise your hands using your
I think Yeni earlier mentioned she's enrolled.
yeah.
Deepna is also enrolled.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is because it's sometimes we forget to use our benefits. So our company will give out like $500, $1,000, $1,500 every year for continuous education, and we won't use it. So I'll say leverage that money um, to enhance your capabilities, your competencies, and get ready for your next role. So that's free money. If you don't use it, it goes to waste. So just wanted to point it out there.
All right. Thanks, Gucci. So that's it, guys. I don't see any other question here. So as I mentioned earlier, if you still have specific questions to your own situation, either it's as per a job search or it's as per this particular topic we covered here, you can use that link there to schedule a 15 minutes chat where we can speak to your own specific questions as far as your job search or your professional development is concerned. That will be for us today, guys. Thanks for the opportunity to have this first session of the year. Next week, we're talking SAP ERP, and we're going to be going deep. We're going to be looking at the entire consulting track, which starts with the end user training in materials management. And this is also one of the things I tell people, that you want to do a bundle with SAP ERP, in that when we cover the certificate, we're not really hands-on. But in case in the SAP ERP situation, is a basically, let's call it a workshop. You're going to be hands-on. You're going to be doing specific transactions related to those things you learned in the procurement certificate. We're going to be creating purchase orders, PRs, RFQs, contracts, payments to vendors. And so all of these things directly implementing what you are learning in the procure to pay of the procurement certificate. So don't just stop at the knowledge area. Also go further to look at the how you are going to be able to actually execute using technology, of course, which is the ERP this time around. So somebody's asking about the ERP training still starting on Thursday. Well, as of today, yeah, we're still planning to start on Thursday. We are ready, right, Guti? Or are we?
I haven't heard anything different, so we go with Thursday.
All right.
Yeah.
All right then.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So we're scheduled to start on Thursday for the ERP training, but we are having that info session on Saturday, though, just to clarify. Yeah, info session is different from what Fasasi is talking about there. Fasasi has enrolled for the ERP training already. That's why he's asking that question. Yeah, they go together. I highly recommend it. You know, there's no way you are applying to procurement rules and you are not having some type of ERP skills. It goes further than just saying I have certificate. I don't have the hands-on skills. Employers definitely prioritizes those who have the hands-on skills to be able to get to work right away without needing more than the necessary trainings. So I will definitely recommend that. At least join the info session just so you know what will be entailed and what you can take away from the training. All right, that's it for me, guys. Thanks, Dela.
Excuse me,
Thanks,
Abiodun. Excuse me.
okay.
Hi,
Go ahead.
Abiodun. Okay, so for those of us, I mean, I'm interested in the study group for the procurement certificate. So you're saying the first step is to fill the form in the link that you posted, the landing pages.
Yeah,
Is that the
yeah.
first
So
step?
yeah, or you can just chat 15 minutes thing with me. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, just schedule that 15-minute session with me, and we can go over whatever you need.
Okay.
So
All right.
initially I posted Lucky's LinkedIn. Let me see if I still have it. Lucky LinkedIn is there. Yeah, that's Lucky's LinkedIn. Let me see if I can get Gutierrez's one. This one is for Gautier, and this is for Adela. So connect if you haven't connected with any one of us. It makes a lot of sense. You know, this is how you build your network. Whatever event you attend, make sure you're not just attending, but you're connecting with people who are in that session. That's how you build your network. And hopefully you don't stop at just connecting. You reach out and have a conversation with them as well. All right, that's it. Thanks.
Awesome.
Let me see the one for the 15 minutes chart here.
So I wish you to stay warm and wherever you
All right.
are. And see you next week. Happy New Year
Yeah.
again.
All right. I will leave the session on for some few minutes just in case you want to use those links that I just sent in there. Thanks everybody. Have a great week. All right. And see you next week for the SAP ERP info session.
All right.
Awesome.
See you all next week.
Okay, thank you, Abby. Thank you so much. Bye.